Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. Coming to you raw and uncut right now because I'm still pissed about some stuff that happened here on Tuesday night in the NBA. We went 3-2. I'm being greedy. I'm not going to lie to you, but let's just get right into it. And we'll talk about Wednesday's slate here with some picks that I have for you guys. Getting them to you early a little bit here. We've got a lot of back-to-backs. I'll talk about that in a second. Chris Paul went cleanly under. If you took him at 8.5, like I told you, you got even more units. I didn't spend any more on the 8.5 because I felt great about the under 9.5, and we hit that with 1.4 units to get a full unit back. Steph Curry went under 9.5 rebounds and assists as well to get us 0.9 units back on that full unit that we bet. SGA went cleanly over 30. He had 36 points, led the game in scoring, 6 boards, 7 assists. Really solid game for him and a nice win for the Thunder. Someone who did not have a nice game, Jaylen Brown. I'll talk about De'Aaron Fox in a second. I'm so fucking mad at him. Jaylen Brown over 22.5 points. I'm not even mad at him. He just 0 for 8 from 3. Let me make sure I get this right. He was 4 of 18 from the field. If you want to know what that is in percentage, that is a 22% field goal percentage. If you want to know what 0 for 8 from 3 is, it's 0% for JB. So the volume was there. He had the most shots on the team. No, I mean, Jason Tatum had 21 and Porzingis had 18. He had 18 shots, man. I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, he couldn't hit anything. He just kind of stopped shooting from anywhere outside of 5 feet after a while. That was my vent session. We move on. The De'Aaron Fox bet under 28.5. He had 9 at the half. He had 21 in a loss to the Hornets, which, I mean, my bet was predicated on him not even having to play the fourth quarter because they were winning. And then he just kind of went on a tear in the second half for no reason because his team didn't even win. Domas Sabonis crushed us. He had 11 turnovers in that game, and that was a huge reason for why this team just couldn't even, like, hang around. They couldn't even – it was just brutal, man. I don't know if you watched that game at all. It wasn't really worth it. The Thunder and Celtics game was pretty worth it, but JB screws us. So on the season, I mean, look, we were up 0.7 units. I'm so greedy and, like, upset about it because it could have been a really wonderful night. 4-1, which sounds so much better than 3-2, but we'll take the 0.7 units because, as you see, we really controlled our units properly here to only put the right amount on the right things here and get ourselves nearly a unit, 3/4 of a unit on the day. So we'll take it and be up 14.9 on the season on the props there. On the season as a whole, 89 and 71, 8.1 units up. Let's get into Wednesday. You don't need to hear me bitch anymore. Wednesday slate, I just want to run a few things by you. 12 games on the slate and 7 teams are on a back-to-back. Kings, Nets, Bulls, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Thunder, and Magic. So there's a lot that we don't know yet. There's a lot of lines that still need to come out as I record this late night on Tuesday night here, getting ahead of Wednesday slate, like I said. So I have 3 picks that I like because we can finally make them without needing to worry about injury reports too much. So I'm going to get into that, but I just want to let you know it's really easy to find this back-to-back stuff if you use hashtag basketball.com. That's in the description as well. They're not paying me to say that. They're just an awesome tool. Not the greatest name, but like, hey, hashtag basketball is like probably something we're all going to be able to find pretty easily on for search engine optimization and all that good marketing stuff. But they're a great website, regardless of the name. So if you can see this chart here, Tuesday and Wednesday is selected there on the left because those are the days I wanted to see who was playing on both those days. And now I have this nice, neat chart in front of me with all 8 teams that are playing on a back-to-back here on Wednesday night. So that's what I would use. It's in the description, the link to hashtag basketball if you just want a nice bookmark to find who's on a back-to-back without having to do really annoying research and looking at multiple schedules at once. So first bet here, Giannis Antetokounmpo under 6.5 assists. We get that for plus 114 on FanDuel right now, putting a full unit on it. Like I said, I'm recording this late night, so you might be able to get this at 7.5 assists, the way that it's juiced down like that, or juiced all the way to the over of the 6.5. So that means it'll probably bump to 7.5, depending on if people bet it over that number. We just saw him get 11, so I'm zagging a bit here when I do think people are going to be zigging because the inflated line is coming after a lot of assists that I think were the anomaly, and that's what the stats are telling me is that the 11 assists that he had in this last game against Indy, which, by the way, they're playing Indy again for one of those home and homes in 2 games in a row. Played them 2 nights ago on the first. So what we're saying here is 17 potential assists in this last game with 11 assists that he recorded. That to me is inflated because in the previous 3 versus Indy, he had 6 potential assists per game with 3 assists that he actually recorded, slightly less than that. So 6 potential assists doesn't get you enough even potential assists to get to 7, right? So that's why I do like the under here, because I think that's more likely what we're going to see, especially on the road, where points are going to be more likely to come than they were in this last game in Milwaukee when these teams play in Indy. And whenever Indy plays in Indy, Indy scores a lot more and gives up a lot more. And Giannis, I mean, I'm not going to try to get into the psychology of things, but like, he had an amazing game last time, 30 points, 18 boards, 11 assists, but they lost 122-113. I got to imagine his response to that is a little bit less passing and a lot of bit more getting right to the rim. A pretty efficient game, but not super efficient for him in the way that he plays around the rim. So I do think the points are going to be a lot more. Middleton is questionable. That would also lead us to think and surmise that there's going to be more points from Giannis and fewer assists with a guy like Middleton. Although Middleton's doing a lot of his stuff off the ISO. There are some, he is the beneficiary of a lot of being in the corner on the wing, mostly the wing, threes from when Giannis drives. So I'm really liking the fact that if he doesn't play, assists a little bit less likely for Giannis. We've got the 27 assists that they recorded last game, also somewhat of an anomaly, 4 more than they were averaging in their previous 3 versus this team, because Indy doesn't give up a ton of assists. They actually give up the 8th fewest assists in the league. The 27 that they just gave up was 4 more than they average in terms of how many they allow on the season. So he's gone under in 4 of his last 5 versus Indy because of the fact that he's just scoring a ton, getting a lot of boards, putting him back up, getting a ton of stuff in transition, getting to the free throw line an infinity amount of times. So with all that in mind, I just think that's going to be a lot more of his MO. And I'm not going to bank on the last time that we saw it this, like I said, out of sort of the norm for Giannis in terms of how many assists and potential assists. Don't think that's going to happen again here. So let's take under 6.5. And if it gets to 7.5 tomorrow, I'll hit it again take a little bit less juice. But I love the plus 114 we get here. So second bet is a very similar bet because it's his teammate Dame Lillard to go under 7.5 assists, minus 113 on FanDuel for 1 unit. And stop me if you've heard this before, because I just did this with Dame Lillard the other day and took under 7.5, and he got 5. Felt very comfortable with it. We got worse juice on the 7.5 last time. They are going to Indy. Probably going to be more points. Like I said, maybe a bit more pace as well. So it's possible it's likely that that's the reason that we see 7.5 as the line 2 days after he got 5 in this same situation. All of that said, it's kind of a lot of the same stuff I said to you a couple of days ago. He's gone under now in 4 of his last 5 versus Indy. I think that should actually say 5 of 6 now. 21 of 31 games this season that he's gone under this number, because his potential assists remain at like 9.5 assists potential assists per game. That's not enough to get 7 assists. Like, that's a very, very, very high assist percentage off of your assist chances, right? Like, it's not that likely that your team is going to shoot 90% off of the shots that you give them from your assist potential assists. So that's why I don't like this for him. Indy does limit point guards to the 5th fewest assists per game. I think that number is actually a little higher now after they limited him to 5. And they limit opponents to the 8th fewest. That was higher. They were better, actually, and they gave up a few assists before the Milwaukee game. But the 8th fewest assists per game as well is a reason why. Like, they play Olay defense. It's not their awesome defense. It's the fact that they allow a really high field goal percentage, and they allow you to get a lot of shots in the lane, in the paint, in transition, etc. So that'll all be there for Dame. He had 31 in the last game. I expect him to continue to pull and keep scoring, especially if Middleton is not in. Even better for him to keep looking for his own shot, knowing that there's not another guy that he can dish off to that he feels as comfortable scoring as he would as himself, which Chris Middleton's one of those great scorers. So going to go under for Dame as well, because I just don't think there's going to be that many assists in general for Milwaukee. I think they get back down to about 23, 24 assists as a team. And as a result, I think Giannis is probably around 5. And I think Dame is probably around 5 as well. So I'm going to take under assists for both of them here. And then we're going to finish up with the Houston game, and they're taking on the Nets. And stop me if you've heard this before, but I'm taking a team total for a team that's taking on the Nets. We just did this with OKC. They got 120.5. They got more than that. They needed over 120.5. We get this at 114.5 for Houston. And Dylan Brooks isn't in, but that's really the only injury that you got to worry about. Tari Eason is questionable, but there's a couple Tari Easons on this team, to be honest with you, including Jabari Smith. So all those guys are playing. Alpi Shangoon is playing, which is what I care about more than anything, because he is for sure the best player on this team. And don't look now, but one of the best centers in the NBA. And he's a huge reason for why this team has been so incredible on offense at home, which was something I was looking at right away. Like, this is my first thought was like, okay, Nets on a back-to-back. They don't play defense. They just got absolutely pulverized by the Pelicans. So I think they'll at least come out with some sort of gusto. They have played their reserves a couple times on these no rest situations, but they're really bad either way. Even when their starters play in these no rest situations, they can score all they want. They give up a ton of points. I would feel pretty good about taking Houston to win this game, even though, like I said, Brooklyn should be coming back with a little bit more spunk after getting absolutely embarrassed by New Orleans. But this is a tough situation for them against one of the best home teams in the league in Houston. Houston should be able to score, and I love the minus 105 that we get on DraftKings for them to get the 115 points, which they've done in 6 of their last 7 games that they've gotten over 115 or over 114, so at least 115. In those 7 games, they've scored 124 points a game with 126 offensive rating. They're also playing at a way faster pace, which is awesome. 102 pace at home over their last 7. And now they get a Brooklyn team that is also playing a bit faster on the road, is going to be playing with some tired legs, but that's only going to mean that I think they're going to bring it in the first half, basically. And in the second half, they're just going to dwindle away and the Rockets will beat them down. You're going to see the Rockets able to get some points off of turnovers, which is not something that the Nets give up a lot of. But when they are tired, you have tired legs. Now you're talking about a little bit sloppier play, and that's where the Rockets crush you, as they play that hounding defense on the perimeter, and they take that and they use it to just go score. So with Brooklyn giving up 119 defensive rating because they're giving up 119 points on the road this season, love the 115. Plus, you've got Brooklyn on no rest, and in those games, we're talking about 123 points per game that they're allowing. So you feel good about all that in this one as well. I know it's only 3 bets today. Love that I had 5 last time, because usually we're going to get the 3 and 2 and get ourselves at least a half a unit to 1 full unit, depending on the unit size. But these are 3 that I feel really good about. And obviously, if you're following along on social media and the like, then you can continue to get these other bets that come out. Once we're going to get lines, like, we just don't have them. We're not going to get props probably until later morning on the West Coast out here. So I'll do my best. Maybe there will be another video up. Either way, these 3 bets are good and locked for right now. So Giannis under 6.5 assists. See when you wake up in the morning if that's 7.5. Obviously, love it even more. Dame Lillard under 7.5. I don't expect that to move. That's right at minus 113 is the best juice we're getting on the under. If anything, it would move down because it is starting to seem like it's getting juiced down. There's minus 125 for the under on this bet. So I do think this one is one that you hit as soon as you see this. Get under 7.5 for Dame, because it might move before we get to tip tomorrow or even into the afternoon on the West Coast out here. But the last one there is the Houston team total 114.5. I don't know if that'll move, because I also don't know what's going to happen with the Nets injury report, which has always been a topic of fun discussion as of late. If you remember the Mikal Bridges incident and him going under because he only played 12 minutes. I have another video up about that if you want to understand what we're talking about with that betting stuff. Either way, Houston team total over 114.5. I don't care who plays for the Nets. We're taking them to score and to keep playing at a faster pace at home. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Appreciate you rocking with me. Like I said, subscribe to that page if you would. Liking the video is also incredibly helpful, so I appreciate you all following along. Sorry we couldn't come away with the 4-1 on Tuesday, man. I'm still heated. Like, cheers. I just did the best I could. 0 for 8 from 3. What did I say? 4 for 18 from the field for Jaylen Brown. De'Aaron Fox decides to needlessly put up 21 in the second half. 3 and 2. Let's just take it. I'll get out of here. Let you guys get back to it. And until I see you next, happy betting.